Hello everybody. It is Saturday the 26th of April, and I want to talk about and think about the Kundalini experience and what it is we're actually experiencing, and what it is we know through that experience, the knowledge that we experience as a reality in that experience. I've just been again listening to John St. Julian. Now, first of all, he is obsessed with the physical occurrence in your body, which obviously there is one. Yeah? This oil traveling up the vertebrae and getting into your brain where it creates a firework. But knowing that is carnal knowledge. That is the knowledge of the physical. Because the oil is obviously physical. Your body is physical. Spiritual knowledge would be understanding what it is you're experiencing. Yeah? That extended awareness, that extended the awareness of the reality that you are otherwise not aware of. And it is a reality that is shown to you. So what is it we're experiencing? And here comes where we really must interpret these things correctly. We must know what it is we're doing. We must know what it is we are experiencing. Yeah, I've heard Jewish woman saying, and that was so true. She said the Messiah, Mashiach, the Savior, is the correct interpretation of Torah. And that, I think, is the truth. We are misinterpreting what it is we are experiencing. That other reality that we are experiencing. We are misinterpreting it, or we're being given doctrine from the church, which is an interpretation. That is what the text says about those experiences. That is what happened. Yeah, and make that your truth. Yeah, that is how the universe works. Make that your truth and know yourself in it. So, well, first of all, being obsessed with the physical occurrence is actually getting you nowhere. But I've also just heard that somehow we were engineered, our bodies were engineered by these evil entities so that the oil would not flow, yeah? And therefore we are disconnected from the Spirit of God. Then you would say that the material has got power over the spiritual, which it hasn't. There's nothing that material that can prevent you, because the spirit is above, beyond the material. And the material cannot prevent anything. And I mean, really, John is really blaming everything on the body anyway, you know. The body, your body, your physical body is the animal. And the animal is humble. And the animal is not greedy. And the animal is within the truth of everything else. Of nature, within the truth of nature. Yeah, so I mean, the desire of your body is the animal desire, which is it needs food. And it usually knows what the right food is. In fact, if you give it the wrong food, and that is not the desire of the body. Yeah, animals in nature do not go around eating the wrong stuff. So nature, your body, it needs the correct food. It knows the correct food. Food, water, and sex. It will have sex. And when that is all said and done, it will find itself a nice, warm, cozy place. It will rub its belly and it will go to sleep. That is your body. And that is all it does. Anything beyond that is not of the body. It is a desire that is coming from somewhere else. It is not according to nature. So you cannot blame the body, because that's all it knows and that is all it will do. So, and again, to say that you can do something to prevent the Kundalini experience, it is mind over matter. It is spirit over matter. If something is preventing that from happening, it's spiritual. Something is keeping the door closed, and that is spiritual. There's nothing physical that can be done to prevent the spirit. Yeah? So, stop blaming the material world for what is going wrong. What's going wrong is spiritual. So then if we have that experience, what do we actually see? Or what is it we meet? The truth that we meet. Now, John brought up the story of Jacob. Yeah? I've met God face to face in a place called Pineal. Pineal gland. So the fireworks went off and Jacob saw something. What did he meet? And now we need to get the correct interpretation and get out of the bloody church's a doctrine. What did he meet in that place called Pineal? God, not the creator. Again, I'm saying it until I'm blue in the face. Know your God from your creator. God is a part. Creator is all. Creator cannot be known. Every ancient teaching will tell you that. You try to know the creator, you try to know all, it will lead to insanity. You will fry. You will go like a fly to the light. Yeah. Oh, it's so beautiful. Bzz. That's what will happen. You'll fry. It cannot be known. So but it's not what you meet in the place that is Pineal. You meet God. And what is God? The Bible actually tells you what God is. It is I am. The I am. No, and the I am is not something outside of you. It is what it is. It is what it says. I am. The knowledge of self. The truth of self. And there is the truth beyond what you've been told by others you are. And it is the truth beyond what you may have told yourself you are. Yeah, I mean, we are very good. We're being deceived and we're deceiving ourselves. We're very good at that. So that is what you meet. That is what you see. God, I am. Your truth. Yeah? Now, and if you look at Jacob and you say you know them by their fruit, by what they're doing, what they're creating, and again, you see the truth of what it actually says in that book. Yeah? See the truth of what it actually says on those pages. Jacob is a liar. He's a deceiver. He's probably quite lazy because it is Esau that is doing all the works in the fields while he's hanging around the field, hanging around the house. Jacob. Yeah? So he's a liar, he's a deceiver, and he's a thief. Yeah? He's stealing the inheritance of his hard-working brother. So while Esau is in the field doing all the works to sustain the family, Jacob is sitting in the house in his head scheming. He's doing the spiritual works. How great. Yeah? to see how he can get his hand on this thing, aided and abetted by his mother. That is the truth of the story. That is what it says. So he steals the inheritance of his brother. He is deceiving his own dying father. Deliberately deceiving his own dying father that wants to give him a last blessing. Yeah? To get his hands on what is rightfully Esau. And I think not only by birth, because Esau was actually doing the works. So it should have been rightfully his. That is what the story says. Yeah? How is he one of our glorious founding fathers? A liar, a deceiver, and a thief. Now if Jacob goes to a place called Pineal, yeah, if he has that experience, what kind of God do you think he's going to meet? He meets the I Am. He meets his truth. He sees himself. And apparently, that's fine. That is my God. And God will remain unchanging. Which again is idiotic because we can't change. We absolutely can't change. We are not set in stone. Spirit is energy. It is spirit that creates the physical. And spirit, thoughts, emotions, desires, intentions that are created out of those that then create the outcomes. We can change those things. We can think about them. We can see good and bad. We see the outcomes. So we can change, but no, Jacob remains unchanged. And there's something in this world that is actually saying that. I mean, listen to Jeffrey Epstein. If he said that. I now know what I am, and I'm fine with that. So what is he? Yeah, he's a sexual predator. He is lust and he's greed, most likely greed. Driven on those energies. And well, I'm fine with that. I am what I am. That is knowing God. That is knowing and then saying God is unchanging. It is the knowledge of self. That is what Jacob saw when he met God. He saw himself. So, and then if you go on, but that is the knowledge of within. That is the kingdom within. That is the truth within. I would say you should stand in your truth. Maybe not unchanging. Maybe not. If your truth is rotten. And here again, you know them by their fruit, or that the sins of the fathers will go into the next generations. Look at the children of Jacob, 12 of them. At least 10 of them, I'm not sure about Benjamin, but at least 10 of them were totally rotten to the core. They were rotten fruit of a rotten tree. That is the truth. That is what that thing says. If you are in the judgment of a human being, yeah, and you're not being told you need to call that great, when in your own truth it would not be that. And stand in your truth as a human. Yeah, do stand in your truth as a human being. That is not great. So go on in the story of Jacob, when he is about to meet Esau again, after they've been separated for a long time. And an angel is coming, and he's wrestling with that angel all night. Yeah? So what is that angel? I think, again, are we looking at truly solid physical thing, or a spiritual experience that is feeling extremely real? Let's say it like this. Again, knowing the difference in those stories, what is spirit, what is actually a physical occurrence. Because they're both in there. And I think in this case we are talking about a spiritual occurrence. Yeah? That wrestling with the angel is something happened in the spirit. But it would have felt extremely real. It would have been real because Jacob would have felt something inside of him, a real feeling, a real experienced feeling. So, and here comes an angel that is bringing a message. Now, the angels are there to serve us. Yeah? And where did that message come from? Jacob stood there, the I am. That is the knowledge within. Then that angel came from the wider knowledge without, the kingdom without, others. And what was that angel that Jacob was wrestling with all night? And again, as a human being, and assuming that Jacob was still human, and he's about to meet his father, and this angel was bringing him a truth, I would say it was the feeling of guilt. He was wrestling with guilt, most likely. Knowledge of others, the kingdom without. You have wronged your brother. You have wronged your brother. You've stolen of him. Yeah? So I would say he was wrestling with guilt. That was the angel. An energy that brings you a truth. The bringer of a knowledge. And he overcame. Jacob won. So, at the end of when they're both standing there exhausted, after clobbering each other all night long, does the angel say, "What is your name?" Again, I spoke about names in the videos before and the changing of names if there is a new knowledge inside of you, a higher knowledge or expanded knowledge. Yeah? That was something that was not in Jacob before, because he was I am God, I'm unchanging, I'm right. Yeah? I'm right. So that angel tries to bring him an extended knowledge of the kingdom without, about his brother, to bring him the knowledge of guilt. And then he says, "What is your name?" And he says, "My name is Jacob." The name remains unchanged. Whatever knowledge that angel was trying to give him of the greater truth, that he was guilty, Jacob wrestled that down. And he stood in his name. I am Jacob, and I will remain unchanged. The guilt shall not change me. That emotion, that feeling shall not change me. And again, there is our ability to not let something in. If we choose not to, we can close ourselves off. And Jacob absolutely did that. And then the angel says to him, "You are Israel," which either means God prevails or wrestling with God. And actually in the case of Jacob, both was true. God prevails. The I am prevailed. He was wrestling with a greater knowledge. The angel of the greater knowledge of the kingdom without, others. But the I am prevailed. And in case of Jacob, that was not a good thing. Because he was rotten to start with. It should have changed him for something better, in which case the name would have changed. And it didn't. He remained Jacob. He stood, I am that I am. I saw it in a place called Pineal. And I will not change. To be quite honest, what he was did serve him well up to that point, didn't it? I mean, yeah. It did give him the riches of this world, the material riches, the inheritance. But in the long run, it will lead to destruction. As I said, his children were rotten. So, and there is an interpretation of the text that I would say you probably won't hear in church. Because doctrine tells you Jacob was brilliant. He knew God. How wonderful. Yeah? And then God, again, being that almighty being, God being the creator. Well, God is the creator of your own life. Because you are the I am that is creating your own life. But he's not the all. He is not the creator of all. Again, that is a deception. That is what you're being made to believe. That this book is talking about the creator of all, and it doesn't. It speaks about the I am. God, the I am. Yeah? And the I am can be wrong. It is not all. Again, you should be of sound judgment. But you will judge according to what you are. I mean, there may be others like Jacob that think he is great. Because that is their truth. You know, one will know another. But if your truth is different, then you should say that and you should know it within yourself. Knowing your own truth in comparison to the truth of Jacob. Well, my truth is not the truth of Jacob. That's for sure. I don't know about yours. You would have to go within and look at that. So, a different interpretation of Torah. Is that the Savior? I don't know. To me, it's better than the bump that we're being fed as truth. Right, so let's get back to the Kundalini experience. When, again, let's go back to John. He said, so many have a really bad experience. They say demons. And that is why, because they didn't fast enough? No, nothing to do with the fasting or anything else. You see what you are. And if they saw demons, then there's something inside of them. That was their truth. And then they must, again, reason what those demons are inside of themselves. They be thoughts, desires, intentions that are wrong. That's what they saw. And then they need to, again, correct themselves. You will do not fight the demons outside of yourself. Because you are the source. The only place you can fight them is inside of yourself. To hopefully bring you to a greater level of awareness. Yeah? But I mean, if you think everything is down to the flesh and you're fighting the flesh, or you're beating yourself up, or you're beating something up outside of yourself, you're fighting the wrong battle. It's not something that is disconnected from you. It is you. That is what higher knowledge is. The knowledge of your higher self. The knowledge of self. The knowledge of self that is energy outside of the body. And you must change the energy. And you can change the energy, and you can change your name. Your essence, what you are, the I am, can change. And again, what is the best I am? That what gets you everything for yourself, as in the case of Jacob. He got the lot. Is that then the best I am? And what are we at then? Survival of the strongest, survivors of the most knowledgeable, and everything is justified. Deceit, lying, stealing is justified as long as the I am gets what it wants. God will justify everything, so as long as the I am gets what it wants. Is that the knowledge of good and bad? The correct interpretation of good and bad? Because that is what God of the Bible is. He is the I am that wants everything for himself, and everything is justified in the service of that intention. Yeah? If your sins are as red as blood, I will declare them righteous as long as they serve me. And is that then your knowledge of good and bad? And will you declare something that gets everything for himself as greatness? Is that greatness? Because that is again something has been drilled into us. The mighty, the powerful ones, that is greatness. Is it? Or is greatness something that can live within the web of life, at least not doing any harm, better even to give to it, and that it will flourish through you? Because you are there, you're making a change for the better in the entire web of life. Is that greatness? What's your definition of greatness? I mean, we've been given a definition. Definitely, it's been a perception that has been drilled into us of what greatness is. And in that case, Jacob is all the way up there. Yeah, he is the I am that gets everything, and no, he will not let a little thing like guilt getting into his way. You know, little angel, no, forget it. I am that I am. So, all those years ago, I had a feeling that I would be given something. And I'm beginning to think now it may be a Kundalini experience. And it hasn't happened. Why? No, not because there's something wrong with my body. Yeah? Because I've been closing the door. I have prevented it. And folks, yes, it is absolutely fear that is holding the door closed. It is Satan standing in the way. And to me, that is not something bad. Because I said all those years ago, I need to understand. I need to have my eyes opened to the understanding of what is going on. And that is actually why, traditionally, those that had these experiences were trained. Yeah? They put in years of preparing themselves for that experience. And a great part of that training, I would say, is gaining the understanding what is actually going to happen to you and the meaning of it. Now, whether all the mystery schools had the correct meaning themselves, I don't know. Yeah, but it was not starve yourself to death and half to death and just have that experience because you can. Yeah, and you have no understanding of what is actually going on, or no clear understanding of what is actually going on. Then that experience is, first of all, wasted on you, and secondly, through the wrong interpretation, it could lead you on a completely wrong path. So again, if we are going into the spiritual as a species, yeah, and the knowledge will be poured on all, down on all, everybody shall receive. And most of humanity hasn't got a clue what's actually going on. It will be utterly destructive. And I said before, we are going wrong in the material. Yeah? Again, not being driven by the needs of your body. Absolutely not. It is something that you've been told from above is righteous when it isn't. Yeah, but you trust the mighty. You trust that they will tell you the truth. And you're not looking for the truth within yourself. In that way, following the rulers, we are at the edge of destruction. Physically, bombs. Yeah, we can blow ourselves, the kingdom come several times over. So we have gone wrong in the physical. If we're staying in the same perception of what we are and what we are in, and then we're going into the spiritual, we will go wrong on speed. We will become destructive on a completely new level. This is why humanity needs to prepare itself. It needs to do the works to gain understanding, to have the correct interpretation of Torah. And then it starts from the beginning, the very first thing in the Bible that brought us to a level of godliness, and that is your knowledge of good and bad. That is the first step. That has to be the foundation. The true understanding of good and bad. Then go from there. Is the truth of creation, the structure of creation, is it a pyramid where the few will rule over everything, and when they say what is done in my name is righteous, it will become righteous magically somehow? Is that the truth, or is the truth the web of life where everything gives, where everything receives, and the greatest thing you can do is do that which sustains not only you but all? Is that the truth? Is that good? Go from that foundation. And then if you go and know yourself, then know yourself according to that. Am I good? Am I a part of the web? Am I helpful to the web? Am I even sustaining myself? Because you must. Both yourself and your brother. And then know, am I good? Jacob knew himself as good in a different way. I am that I am. I will not change. And I am mighty because it will give me the riches of the world. Again, do you call that good? What is it in your judgment? And see what it creates in this world. That attitude, that idea, see what it creates in this world. It is the destroyer. Do you call that good? Anyway, the world needs to prepare itself. If this is going to happen, the world needs to prepare itself. It needs to go into those texts. It needs to free itself of the indoctrination. It must look at it soberly from the point of a human being. And humanity must separate the wheat from the tares. Because they grew up together in that text, they're intertwined. We must go into the text, we must pick out the tares and we must burn them. That is the works that we must do now to stand prepared when this pouring out of the Spirit is going to happen to all. Right now, humanity is in a delusion doesn't know good from bad. And if it happens now, it will be a disaster. Anyway, here folks, I leave it at that for today. And I talk to you again soon. Bye.